Yeah, it's okay.
Morning, everyone. I think we are all here, right? Are we seeing it? Okay. Have you managed to download the folders that is showing on the screen? Right. Okay. Someone on Zoom. Link to Dropbox. No share folder. Oh, the link. The link is here. It's short. You can type it in as well. Thank you, Anthony from ESA. He kindly shared the link. So for this morning session, you definitely need the first folder. And then for the sessions that will come later today, you will need the second folder. And the second folder has data files, whereas the first folder only has 3 text files. So they should be very quick to download. Does anybody have problem downloading these files or accessing the link shared? No problem? Okay. Again, just like yesterday, if you have any questions, any issue throughout the session, just raise your hand and then my colleagues will help you. So yesterday we went with theme tool. We had R, we went through code block by block. So I hope by today you are experts of R. Probably not yet, but I hope that you are familiar with the R environment at least. And then today we are going to go over a few other indicators, starting with secondary education. So if you go to the folder that you had from yesterday, okay. So this is the folder. You should have built this technical art training, go to 2017. And this morning we are going to go through 2 files, secondary education national, and then reason, right page. And I'm going to open the first one, secondary education national. So when you double click, you should see RStudio opening. So you can open RStudio and then pull the file from there. I prefer to just open the file directly because then you have all the file paths already set up for you, which is kind of easier. It's just me being lazy. But now you can see, you already are in the work directory where you open the file from. So now we have secondary education to does everyone have this open? Not? Okay. So the majority of the code in this file is really the same from yesterday. So there is not many parts that are completely new, but maybe today we could go over, we could try a few other quizzes that involve the code book. But before that, let's install the necessary packages. So sometimes you get a bunch of error messages. I tend to just rerun the code call, and then it usually automatically resolves the issue. So after installing all the necessary packages, you can pull in the libraries. Depending on the version of R that you are using, you might see from word error messages. Do you see anything not working properly? Again, just raise your hand. So we have all the packages installed and libraries open. Yeah, okay. So now we are going to start preparing the data. So we are, just like yesterday, we are going to start defining the variables that we will be using. So we are basically just creating here, starting with, of course, I don't know if it was just to remind you, if you want to run the whole code block, you can always just click here, right? The play button. If you just want to run a line or like line by line or just a few lines that you select, you can select, like for instance, we can select line 3, because I just want to run this. Then what you can do is you can do Control Enter. If you are using Mac, use Command Enter, and then it's just going to run this line. And you can see on the right side in the environment panel, there's a now new variable called indicator, which stores information that we just assigned with secondary and tertiary. So again, I should mention earlier today our indicator of interest for this morning session is secondary education for the population between the age of 20 and 35. So that is the main variable. It is the alpha variable for our morning session. And then now we are doing the same. We are creating a variable called circumstances, which is going to store this vector text. So for household, residence, and sex, those are the circumstances that we will be looking at. I just run this line. Again, you can just use Control Enter if you just want run line. And then we are defining the required variable names. You see HP 109, HP 105, etc. We have six variable names here. We are storing all these into a say container called required variable names. So in this training, we already prepared the code file, right? So you don't have to do this on your own. But for instance, if you take the data from ESCAP or any other sources, actually what you need to do is you need to look for what these variable names would be, because you wouldn't know. So you have to go through the code book and see where is, and then you have to check what the variable name is, and then you will have to fill these out on your own. Like Salsa mentioned yesterday, so in the case of EXS, they use the same variable names over time. The next iteration of data collection, and then the data is released. Most likely, you won't have to change these. But for instance, if you want to add a new circumstance, if you want to add something else, then you will have to look for that and then just add it to this one string. Now we are going to define those for the file name. So you can see we're basically constructing survey name, because all these three country code, version code, country ISL. Well, actually, the country code and version code, they are kind of together here on the last line number 15. And then we are constructing a new variable name called survey name. So I'm going to run these. And again, as someone, one of the participants asked yesterday, who are also our trainers, my colleagues have mentioned, this may not be the most efficient way for you to do it, but imagine we are having tools that we use for many different countries. That is why we have this extra steps that might seem redundant to you. In the case of you're looking at only country, you don't actually have to just put these together, P8, 70, and then store the directly survey name, right? So you might find superfluous, but when you think about the replicability of the code, it's always better to have this structure, which becomes a lot easier later to modify the code if you want to run. And the same, we are still setting things up. I will go a little bit faster here. I'm just going to run this chunk. So we are in step 2 now, preparing paths.
Sorry, just a quick note. This data set that we're using for secondary education is ER of the first one people. So this will be a different data set we used yesterday. Just make sure those files are also in your folder.
Anybody has any issue loading the data? Well, actually, we haven't really loaded. we just constructed the on our vertical. And then when we reach the next chunk, read the ESCAP data, and we will see. Have you run this chunk? When you run this, so basically what we did earlier is finding the class. We are telling R where to look for this file. That's why we have this we created this variable called data underscore path. So there we are defining, okay, this is the path directory that you should be searching for. And then in the next chunk, we are telling R, okay, this is the path, take a file name this from this directory. So once you run this, we just created a data frame. You will see this in the environment panel right corner, and then you will see that there is new data frame called ES, and it contains about 120,000 observations, and there are 6 variables. If you want to take a look at the data, you can just open it, see what is there. And if you recall, so this data frame, this query data set that we have in our environment only, it contains only 6 variables that we actually defined earlier within the required variable names variable. If you recall, in the very beginning, it's these 6 variables. So when we just asked R, go with this directory, open this file, and then keep only these variables. Okay. All good up until now? Great. Okay. So now we are going to add sample rate. Again, this is exactly the same from what we did yesterday. So I won't go line by line. There was more descriptions in the code file from yesterday. If you want to jog your memory, you can revisit the code. But I'm just going to run this. And now we should have added a new variable called sample rate. That's what we just did. And when you go back to the data frame called ES, now you will see that we have a new column called sample rate here. Yes.
So just could you maybe remind colleagues what is PR? Like what are those 120,000 observations? Like just like yesterday we were looking at households. We're now. Or should I go? Okay, yeah, sure. So the PR is the personal record, so it contains all individuals in the household that was that's not interviewed, but that were identified, the residents of that household. So this is how we can get, DHS is primarily for women 49. That's the primary target. Most of the questions are asked 49. But when we try to get a bit more representative the entire country and all the household numbers, PR is the one that we go to. So there were 27,000 households yesterday in field. So out of those 27,000 households, we have 120,000 individuals for which we have quite a bit of information in individual in the personal record PR. So yeah, individual record will come. Say John. Thank you.
Thank you, Salsa. So this is if you recall, this is the Excel file you will find under the folder reference file, maybe references, reference files. So as Salsa mentioned there, when you download the data files from ESCAP, they come in different units. So household record, for instance, would have the information at the household level, whereas household member record which we are using this session would have at the household member level. Okay. Now back So we just finished creating a sample weight variable. Now we are going to construct another data frame called data views. So here we have one quiz. You see line number 12. So we are basically now we are again defining a function. We are not creating a variable yet, but we are defining a function. And again, yesterday one of the participants asked why do we do this. So this is again, this is about efficiency later on in the code. So if you define a function, what's useful is that you can recall this function again and again when you need it. So let's say, imagine in this example, our example, we are using it once. But imagine if you want to run it multiple times for a different reason, for different promises or something like that, and then you want to create data files that include the temporary entity variable, and you don't want to write this over and over again. So by defining this as a function now, you can call this function later, and then you can just use write one line. Okay, use this function, and that's it. So it's just about efficiency when the code becomes longer and more complicated. But for this, for our exercise, it is not as necessary, but it is good for your reference, just so that you know and you are aware that this.
So, and look at the DM. Okay?
Yes.
Higher.
Yeah.
I mean, I what? Running. That's 28. Also, 48,000 rows our DX.
Oh no, it's just that I just changed the rearrange the rows. Do you have a smaller number of? It's okay. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so here's the quiz for you. Basically, what are we trying to do? We are defining a function. Yes.
We are using individual observations, right? Not household.
Yes, that is correct.
Are we using a different way or the same way as before, the household?
Do we have I believe this is the central way of signing household.
And then we're using it for the individual.
Yeah, it's usually different sample weights for different data sets, but in DHS, actually, the variable name means it's just you're pulling it from PR. So the weights will actually be different, variable name. So if you go to the reference file, you'll see sample weight for PR, variable name state, but if you go into the values.
It's another reminder to be mindful of which data set you are using, because if the variable names are the same, it will be easy to use.
But that way DHS is quite intelligent, so as long as you like you're clear on what you're reporting, it streamlines it quite well where the sample weight variable is the same across all the data sets. So it's easier to manage. We just did make this kind of a messy nightmare where all the variable names are different and you have to merge with the data set. So that way it's DHS much more. Some of the sample weight. No. Household numbers. So
there's man there, there's woman there, there's children there. It's if you look at the age, do we have the age variable there? HB.
Yes, we did. HB 100.
How about the it's coded, right? It's by HB. Or is it a continuous variable, the age variable? It should be, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so everyone is there. And then the sample weight that we have is the sample weight that's attached to each individual that's interviewed in this probe. Yeah. So if we sum the weights or something like that, right? Because your weight, okay, should the final weight should equal to the total whatever is that total households or okay, so this one it would be in 19,000. Okay, I'm just it's the 115,000. So maybe the true value is more than so maybe it's 150 million in that case. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So again, we are here in the construct data use DataFrame. So let me just quickly go over what this function does, just so that you feel more comfortable with our math. So here we are defining a function called secondary education 2035. And when you run this function, what we want to happen is first, we are putting this variable HB105. You saw here in HB105. This is the age variable. We are putting this in a variable named B. And then we are going to look for this variable in the data. And then here, what's happening is we're just making sure that the variable is in number. Sometimes it be encoded in string format, and we don't want that to. We want to make sure that it's straight. So that's what is happening here. And then here is your quiz. So if you recall, we are looking at secondary education rate for those between age 20 and 35. So for defining that, we want to tell, okay, take those in the data, this age is between 20 and 35. That's what should go in here. So we are first defining, we're first telling telling R to look for people within that age group. And then what's happening in the next 3 lines is we are defining the secondary education. So before we move on to the secondary education variable, could we try to fill this out? These 3 asterisks. What should be here to tell R, okay, look at the base variable in data use DataFrame, and then find those in the age group, in the age between 20 and 35. I'll give you 30 seconds. I know it's a bit of a tricky one because you have to be familiar with the syntax that is used in R. So it's not easy. But I just wanted you to think about it, just even for a brief time, just so that I think it helps to remember next time. So how this the correct syntax in R for this would be, first you enter the data frame name, which is data use. We have not created this data frame yet, but it will be once we call this function later. So data use, and then we are interested in a variable name called age. So I will use $sign. This is basically saying, okay, go to the data frame called data use, and then call the variable name age, and we want equal between 20 and 35. So first is this, and then between, so it should be also below 35, below or equal to 35. So I'm going to put N. And what should go in here? Yes, data use, age. Yes, less than or equal to 35. So this would be the syntax of R.
Does anyone need help? Because if we don't define it here, the rest of the exercise will not work. If you need any help, and take a little time here just to show you. The screen might be a bit too small if you're on Zoom, and check the result there. If you wanted to, we could, but probably a different variable, because I think the months and date of birth by month and days for all individual numbers is there. So we're not calling that, we're getting just the easy number of age, rounded up age. And maybe while everyone is putting that, just to remind ourselves that this is SDG 4.4, I think. Education completion, and we're looking at youth. And the reason why we're focusing on 20-35 age group is, it's a bit random maybe, and SDGs are not calling for this age group. But this is a safe, the earliest age group that we could think of in terms of, like tracking people's education completion. In our platform, we also have this variable for 35 plus. So this 20 to 35 is the youngest cohort that we look at for secondary education completion. If you go all the way under this, like if you were to include, 17, 18-year-olds, we could be excluding some people who are still in secondary education. That's partly why we're starting from 20 just to be safe.
So do we have the line 12 completed? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then so here we just we are telling R to keep these people between the age of 20 and 35 and keep them and then restate them, override the data use data frame. That's what is going to happen when we call this function. And then the next three lines are the secondary education. So it is not clear when you just look at them, but here, bar to cat is our operator. It's just the name. You could call it whatever you want if you want to change this code file, but it's just the name we decided to use for this exercise. And then we are initially assigning 1, so the default value would be 1. So we are creating a new column called bar to cat, and we are assigning 1 to everyone. And then we are going to update that value depending on the actual information based on the information provided in the data set. So this is here we are just making sure that if the the value is empty, it will just be 0. And then here you will see that we are making this list of values 0, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. If these are the values that the line has, then we are assigning 0. Where does this come from? So actually now we can check the code book. If you downloaded it earlier, let's see. Go to the reference files and then go to the code book. I'm reading and then resave the files just so that it is easier for you to read. But actually, they are available in different formats. But you can open it. You can open it in Notebook. So the original format of these files that are currently saved in code book would look like this FRQ file. So if you open this with a notepad, then you will get the same file. I just resaved it for ease. Okay. Let's go to reference files, and then I'm going to open household member vehicle ER. When you open this, what was the name of the variable for secondary, for the education level? Where could we find that information? HB, okay, I'm going to search HB 109. Great, here we have it. Educational. How did you find this variable name? Tell us.
One of those are the
Thank you. So here we see, okay, so let me repair the screen so that you can. Okay, so this is from the code book. So you can see 0 is no education, 1 is incomplete primary, 2 is complete primary, and the only value that we have for complete secondary and higher. So these are the values that we will be looking for, and then we will assign 1, yes, secondary completed for these 2 values. And that's why we started by assigning 1 to everyone, and then we are creating the rest. Those with no education, incomplete primary, pre-primary, incomplete secondary, don't know. We are giving them 0 because they did not complete secondary education. That's where this line comes from, why we have this. Okay. Now we are done defining the function, and we can finally run this. So I'm just going to run this code block. So what happened is exactly what we had defined in the function. So we define the function and then we pull the function here. This is where we pull the function, and then you will see that in the environment top right corner, we have new data frame called data use. If you open it, you will see that we have part F, which is basically the indicator for secondary education. And people with lower level of education will have been assigned 0 and otherwise 1. And here, as part of the function, we had earlier called R. Okay, when we call this function, restrict the sample, basically just keep the people who are in the age group, in the right age group that we are looking at, which is between 20 and 35. So if you look at the two data frames, so what we started with the F, it had 120,000 observations. And if you look at data use, now we have only 27,000. Why did that happen? Because we told R to drop all those who are below the age of 20 or above the age of 35. That's why we have only 27 this new data frame. And we have added a couple of new variables. So that is the difference between these two data frames. So this is the very first one we had, which is complete sample. And then this is the one we just created for our use for creating the tree layer. Okay, so if you're seeing different number of observations or variables, please raise your hand here, and then we will help you, because if you have different numbers here, you're going to get different results when we run R very soon. Okay, now we are back to wealth, residence, and sex circumstances. Again, this is the same as yesterday, and same process as the one we just did before. So we defined the function and then we are calling the function. So first we define for household. We are defining, okay, give everyone 0 to start with, and then we are looking for people who are not poor, who are wealthier, and then we are giving them value. Sorry, it's the other way around. If you are not poor, we are assigning 0. If you are poor, by our definition for our analysis, we assign 1. And then, so we first define this function, and then now we need to look for the variable for this for household circumstance. HB 270. Don't forget the quote, double quotes here. So it should be wrapped with double quotes. It's just the syntax for R. So now we are doing this, and then we can call the function here. I'm not going to run this right now, but now we have, so we are done with 12. Now we are moving on to residence circumstance. Again, we are defining the function. Here, could you tell me what you're going to line number 22, where 3 asterisks are? I hear 1. Did I hear that right? Thank you. So we will add 1 here in place of the 3 asterisks. And finally, we have a very similar question here for sex, defining the sex function. What's the code for female? Yes. There's a shy but one correct answer over there. So we would enter 2 here. So again, this is the same with what we did above for secondary education. We are first defining a function, we are calling the function. We are doing the same for 3 circumstances, wealth, residence, and tax. I'm going to run this now. And do you see the overall mean here? 70, 71. Do you all see the same number? Yeah? Okay, now we have defined all the functions. You will see the functions that we defined as well in the environment. So if you look at the, again, top right corner, you see all the functions that we have added here for household, residence, secondary education, tax. And then we have the list of variables that we defined, assigning the values for them. And then we have 2 data frames that we have created so far. And you will notice that for the rest of the code, we are going to be referencing the data frame code that I use because that's the data frame that we have for the group of people that we are interested in. Now we can conduct descriptive analysis. We are going to check the average access rate for everyone in this sample. You run this, and then you will see the numbers. And we can also calculate the same. We can calculate the access rate for the people from cap 60 and above. And then we can go further by female, male. And then we can also check the bottom 40. No problem so far? All good? We can compare and confirm these numbers as well on the LNOB platform. So this is the LNOB platform, and maybe we can check if these numbers check out. I'll go to Philippines. And we are now looking at secondary education 2035. And the latest year is 2017. And if you recall how to read this tree, this percentage here is the access rate for the group indicated above, right? And then okay, here we have 70%. Is that what we have here? Yeah, average national access rate, roughly 72%. And then when we open this, so for top 60, in terms of wealth, we have 86%. That's also what we see here. And for the thank you. And for female, within the top 60% wealth, we have 90%. Is that what we see here? And for male, 83%. So this is when you are writing your own code or you are doing your updating code, like this is one way to validate the results that you see. And now we are confident that we got it right so far. And then we can move on to step 4, finally running the part. Again, this is the same same of what we did yesterday. I'll change my screen. And this is the formula that will be used by part code. So we have the bar to cat, which is the outcome variable, and then we have the list of circumstances that we saved previously into a variable called circumstances. That is for the formula screen, and then this is just the title that will be printed out. Okay. And you run this. Again, for the tree, we define the complexity parameter, and then we have we also tell what our criteria are. So, sorry, I think yes. Okay, this is just to make sure that everyone is following. So we need to update this to 0.9. 0.9. And then we are going to change this square to multiplier. So let's make sure that you have updated the lines 11 and 13.
So they're actually equivalent, right? One is 0.09, the other one is 1 over 11, which is close to 0.09. But yeah, they're easily switched to using multiply by 9%. Much more included.
So what is happening here? Why do we what does this mean? Why do we have these two lines here? What are we calling on? Do you recall from yesterday's theory part presented by Selsa that in LNOB we specify our criteria, right? So we are telling, okay, this is the number of levels you are allowed to go, and this is the number of observations that you must have for each end node. And there were absolute criterion, relative criterion. Absolute one was that end nodes must have no fewer than 49 observations, or the relative criterion might kick in, and nodes must have no less than 9% of weighted sample size. That is what we are defining here. So we want at least 49 number of observations for the end node, or 9% of weighted sample size. So that's what we are telling our from this line. That's why we have this. And then we define our method, ANOVA. So this part really is the same as yesterday, but I just wanted to remind you what is happening here. So I'm going to run this again. And then we can finally plot the tree. Has everyone managed to plot the tree? Sorry that the font is a little small. Now we can compare this to what we have on LNOB website, just to see if we got this, if we got this right. So this is the result from the LNOB platform. You can see if the numbers check out between these two and how it is split. You see the first split was by wealth circumstance, and then the second split within the top 60% wealth was by sex. You see here as well by female and male. And then there was further split in that group within sex by residence. Do the numbers check out? All good? If you have any issue getting this plot, just raise your hand. And now we have the next step about the sensitivity analysis. So here, what we are going to try is removing wealth from the list of circumstances. So you see here, we have new secondary education, residence, and sex. And we'll build a new model. And we can plot the tree without wealth, and this is what we see. So the first split happens by residence, and then second split happens by sex, which is a little bit different from what we've seen before here, right? So having wealth circumstance included or excluded can change the result. So this is just showing you importance of the right circumstances and how having one circumstance or not can really change the result. And now we can change the complexity parameter. So here we can modify the complexity parameter here. And the higher the number that you assign is, the less likely the tree is going to split. So previously we had one here, safety chosen. If you go back, we had one, and now we increased it by 2% to 1.2. So the higher this number is, the less likely these. I'm just going to run this. Maybe we can change to something bigger. So I just put on the screen the case of 200. So that is from 1 to 200. And as you can see, we have only one split here by 12. That's because the higher the parameter is, the less it
Just to remind everyone, the CP chosen is divided by the number of entries, which is why we have to increase it by a significant amount for it to actually be the difference. Because if it's just 1 to 2, 2 divided by the number of rows is not going to be. That value you generally want to stay between 0 and 1.
Okay, and now we are going to try changing the mean chosen variable, which is again one of the specifications that we have for LNOB 3. And by changing this, what are we changing? Yes, I hear percentage of the weighted sample, sample size that the end node plus cap. So by changing this, we are changing this line here, right? And we are defining what is the value, the number of observations, the end node plus cap. Depending on the indicator or the sample that you look at, you can change these parameters. Sometimes we also apply different number of observations. There are certain variables that may have smaller sample size, so you can adjust this. Because it's important to understand what it means. So if we do this, again, we are going to have a little bit different, well, not so much here. I just put something extreme here. So I'm telling should have like large number of observations for end node. That's why we have those here. Just to give you an idea. And finally, we can also calculate the index. It's the same code as yesterday, so I'll run this chunk. And we have the D index for this indicator secondary application.
Does anyone remember the D index from free field yesterday? The number? Was it bigger? I think it was 0.32. So 3 times 4 inequality. We draw them the same way. One.
So that was for the national access rate. And now we can even look at the subnational one. So everyone had no issue with the national part. We all followed, hey, got the right numbers, got the right three. So now we are moving on to the subnational analysis. So this is again back to the LNOB platform. We have the national analysis, but then we also have the national analysis. You can see, you can create a tree by province or region. So you can go to Cagayan Valley or Cotabato, and then you will see how the tree looks for different. Yeah. So what we are going to do in the next R file is try to generate this. So different trees by different. So back to our folder, I'm going to open this one now. Secondary education underscore reason.
Well, two things. Sorry, maybe just remind you mentioned this thing that all the graphs, trees, bar charts, schedule plots on our platform, you can download them as an image or as an Excel CSV file. Your cursor reminder.
Yeah, so you can, so again, you are seeing what we create for R, which is not exactly the, prettiest part, as we can all admit that. But, we have on this platform, we have this beautiful tree, which is, aesthetically a lot more pleasing. So you can download this as well as data file or also as a image file so that you can attach it to your report or presentation. So you can always use this instead of the R outcome, R output. But yeah, with R, what you can do is you can run your own analysis. And if you would, this was also mentioned by Selfa yesterday. If you want, okay, I want a prettier chart than what R gives me, you can also share the results with us, and then we can put it up so that you can also have this prettier version. Just yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Okay, now back to secondary education. So we have about 25 minutes for the coffee break. So we will go through this file over the next 20 minutes. Just open this. And then it's going to open in our studio. And I'm going to close the previous one. By the way, at the end of this training, we will also upload all the upload files as R2. So don't worry if you think you messed up something and you overwrote the file shared. It's okay. Don't worry. So I'm closing this. I'm also closing the other tests so that we have clean. And then you can also use this broomstick in the environment. You see this broomstick here, and I'm going to clear all the objects that were created, and then we can have the slate. Yes. So what happens when you don't clean the environment? It's not going to be the end of the world. It's just that, like for instance, you're going to you don't have to clean the environment. So when we override a variable that you created or a function you have already created, it's just going to keep overriding over itself. So it's okay, but it's going to start getting because you have all these functions, all these variables that you don't really need for your new analysis. And if you want to check quickly what you have created already that are relevant, it will be easier. It's just more for ease and okay, so now we move on. Again, it's the same. We are going to install necessary packages. You might see some error messages. It's okay, just rerun it. And then we are going to open the libraries. Yes. If you have if you had already installed the packages with the front file, you probably do not have to install them again. If it is exactly the same list of packages, they are already, as long as they have been loaded and installed in the R environment since you opened R, that's okay. This is more for, so for instance, if you did not close R and reopen, you should have been able to skip the first two chunks. Yeah, this is just for safety, make sure that we are on the same page. And again, we are, it's the same first few steps. We are preparing the data. Although, okay, let me run this 2 lines first, and you will notice that we have a new circumstance that is getting added. Which one is it? Yes, we are adding language now because we do have the variable available in the data. So we are adding language. And again, we are creating a list of variables that we will be using for this analysis. And here you can see we will need region identifier as well as language variables, so we can use these for our subnational analysis. So you will also, if you compare this file with the previous file, you will see that this is a longer list. So we have from this. And I will also run the rest. And I'm going to prepare and load the data. And you will see here again, we have EF, 120,000 observations as before. And this time we have 9 variables instead of 7 because we added unit 4, right? We need language and then we need reason. So when you open this data frame, you will see that we have reason identifier, which is string. And there's also language identifier, which is obviously not string because I don't see it. That means we will have to pre-code it later. We need to identify which number corresponds to each sequence. We'll get there. For now, are we all good with this data frame? We all have this 120,000 observations with 9 variables. If you have that, and move on. Again, we are same process as before. We are adding central weight column and running the count. And constructing data use data frame. So we are creating here on the right side, when we run this, we are going to create a new data frame that only includes the population express, which is people in the age of 20 and 35, between 20 and 35. I'm going to run this. And then you will see we have new data frame called data use. And again, this is the same as before. We are adding wealth. We are first defining wealth, for instance, sex functions, and then we are going to call those functions. And then those variables have been added to the data use. So let me open this. You will see we have age. Part of that is the outcome indicator. And then for household, resident, next. So all the information that we need for part is now there. Now we move on to language. So here are a few quizzes for you in this code block. We need to find out which language is coded with the value 2 and 7. If you look at the lines number 7 and 8, you will see 3 asterisks for these 2 lines. And then we also need to find what the variable name is for the language variable in the original data set. So there are 3 quizzes in this book. I will give you a couple of minutes to look for this information, and then we will we'll visit together. To give you a hint, you want to go to the code book, one of the code book files. You want to go there, and then you have to look for the language variable, and then you will see the list of values. Which one is the code book file you should be looking at? This one, right? Okay, so I hope you are all get the right folder. And we go to that. This file. Have you already located information we are looking for? Yeah? Okay, great. So what is the, like, how do we move from here? What do we do once we open this file? Yeah, we're going to look for phase B 0.5 C. Wait, but how did you know it is HB 0.5 C? Yeah, it was in the reference. If you said that's kind of we made it easier for you. But imagine if you downloaded the data and there is no Excel file somebody put together for you. That means you will have to actually go over the code. What I would do is if I'm looking for the right variable, I would just variable like this, and then you will find that there are actually a few variables here. So you see HB 0.5A. Right, there's 0.5A, and there is another 0.5B, 0.5C, and they're slightly different because the first one is the language of the questionnaire, and then the language of interview, and native language of respondent. It will be ultimately your call, depending on the nature of the study, you might actually be interested in other language variables. But for this exercise, we go with the native language of respondent. That's a variable of interest for us. But yeah, if you would, if there was no Excel file provided for you, then you will have to go through the list, and then you will have to make a whole. You will have to decide which of the language variables that are available you should be using for the analysis. So here we have identified HG045C, and then now we have for number 2. So what should go into the first 3 asterisks here? Okay, I'll let this. Is that one of the most commonly spoken language? I see some people shake their head. And then we have Ilocano. Oh, yes, number 7. That is Cebuano. Are you asking this in Cebu? Okay, so we all got here, and then I'll just set the variable name plus HP 5C. Okay, so we all completed this flow. I'm going to run this. Okay, so we all got the same number here. And the rest is the same descriptive analysis. So you can run this to see the national text rate. And then you can, now that we have the reason variable, we can go into subnational level information. So what is, let's see, what is happening here. So we are taking this line here in the subnational first code flow. We are using a function called unique. What it is doing is taking all the unique values from the variable called reason. Here, this is from, so go to data use. We are telling R, go to data use, go to look at the reason variable, and then take all the unique values only. And then we are storing those unique values into this object called reason list. I'm going to run this, and then you will see reason list has been added on the right side. If you look at the environment, it's here now. And then let's print all those values that are now stored in reason list. This is the entire list. And the next code, what we are doing is we are saving, okay, we are taking the very first one, autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. And then we are going to go to data use and then select only the values that have this reason, selected reason, this name. And then we are creating a new data frame called regional underscore data use. I run this, and then there should be a new data frame. Sorry, I have one. And then here you see we have a new data frame called regional underscore data use. And this one only has 1,932 observations. And this one should only have the reason that we selected, right? The autonomous reasoning system now. You can check and make sure that there are no other reasons included in this data set. And then now we are doing the descriptive analysis in this selected reason. I'm not going to go over this one by one. You can do this during the break because it's the same as what we did before. And then we can run the part. And notice that for running the part, we will be referencing this data frame, this new data frame that only includes the reason that we are interested in. So first, this is the national level. Here, we're going, so you don't see it here, but we earlier in the beginning of this book, we defined circumstances a little bit differently. So if you go back to the very first part, here we added language in this code file. We, in the list of circumstances, we don't only have for household, residence, and sex, but also have language now. So that's why our tree now includes language. Sorry for the small font size again, but you will see that the part was run with language circumstance included. And now we can run the same for subnational at the subnational level. And then let's try running for Zamboanga Peninsula. Zamboanga Peninsula. And we have the same tree for Zamboanga Peninsula. And this is for only 3 circumstances. Well, we can run the same including language here for the same selected region. Oh, there's a quiz here. Oh, this is an interesting one. So we have on line 11. What should go into the 3 asterisks here? You could check the standard code block above. I'll give you 30 seconds to fill this out. The only thing that should happen here is basically adding, making sure that another circumstance language is included. Do you have it? Can you tell me what I should enter here? What should go in? Yes, hard to add, tilde, for household, plus residence, plus sex, plus language. Make sure that you don't have a typo here. It's not going to run if you have a typo. And let's try running this. And now we have the tree, LNOB tree, including language circumstance in this selected region. So now we have 2 different LNOB trees, one including language, the other not including. We all got the book, all got the tree, looking good. And we have the, we can also calculate the index for different reasons. Here, you can, if you want to look at a different reason, you can change the value here, right? And then just rerun this, and then you will get different numbers, the index for the reason that you are using. We run this, and then the index for Zamboanga Peninsula is 0.21, 0.21. somebody asked yesterday whether you could display this for all the reasons. So for that, you could, because I guess some people or at the national level begin to give every reason. It's not just one reason we're interested in. And you can run this for every reason automatically. You can use move in R to display this number for all the reasons that exist in the list.
We'll actually be looking at loops in the next indicator.
We have 3 minutes till the break. So maybe we can try looking. How many people here are new to R? Oh, okay, we actually have like half the room who are new, and then the other half already familiar with R. That's cool. So I am new to R. My main statistical software is actually set up, and I also use Python, but I'm new to R. But if you already are familiar with any of the statistical software that exists, the advantage is that you kind of know how it works, and the only thing you need to learn when you are learning new software is just the syntax, right? So what I would do is basically go to ask Mr. Google. And you can just find the right syntax, right? So this is the syntax that is used in R. So here for open parentheses and then add value in sequence, and then you can run the rest, right? So for instance, here, you could potentially do for selected reason in the sequence. Could we maybe call reason list? I think we defined it earlier here. Here, right? So it's stored in reason list. I add this. And then I open bracket.
We can't see your art.
Oops. Sorry. So this is what I just typed here. So I'm just opening the loop. So for selected reason in its reason list, and I have open bracket here, and then I will probably place the closing bracket here. Do you think this is going to run? I have no idea. We'll see. But what I wanted to tell you is that you don't have to intimidate by R if you're new to R, because you are already familiar with some other statistical software. All you need to check is the specific text for R. But then you can just apply the knowledge that you already have. And I run this, and then you will see the index for all the reasons because we just moved them. That's it. So this was just a spontaneous exercise. I will leave this screen open in case you wanna try this your own. And now we have a 15-minute break. There are some there's snack in the bag. Feel free to get some coffee, tea, and grab some food, and then we will reconvene in at 10:45. Continue with the other individuals.